It's difficult to pinpoint when Western society lost the ability to distinguish good from bad. But the evidence is everywhere. In our streets, galleries, wardrobes, and the values that modern people are told to prioritize. We have grown too comfortable consuming cultural refuse, while being reassured by the elites that this degradation is not just acceptable, but even superior, and they call it progress. Have it, we are told, it's for your own good. Hence the condition, we have become a society of coprophagists. We are fed cultural waste and told that it's nourishment, and we are criticized if we notice the bitter taste. Hello Masters and welcome to the Guild. Modernity has been sold as a linear evolution that freed us from the primitive past. Yet the past was not abandoned because it failed us. It was abandoned because a small intellectual class, ideologically driven, promoted new aesthetics and morals aligned with their own distorted view of the world. The provocations became the new desire, and we see this degenerative spiral moving more and more away from humanity, as there are only a few times that you can sell a disheveled bed as art. But before we progress, please like the video if you enjoy these topics, add comments sharing your opinion and suggestions, and don't forget to subscribe. This helps us tremendously. Historically, ordinary people recognize quality without experts telling them so. Continuity and evolution created a baseline of cultural competence and excellence, both in the maker and in the viewer. That continuity, which in Western culture was millennia long, had been severed. Ordinary people are told to know your place, that they lacked authority to understand and judge what ultimately is for them, and to quietly accept what is graciously given to them at a dear price. This is how rubble becomes a statement on late capitalism. Slashed canvas passes a profound commentary. And art becomes a topic of gossip where most of the attention is on the artist and not on the artwork. Art ultimately holds up a mirror to the society that produced it and says, this is what you are and this is all you are capable of producing. And in academia and architecture, it is the same desolation, where words like inclusivity, sustainability, decolonization, community-led, or intersectional are not programs, they are badges of conformity. They are empty buzzwords meant only as a declarations of belonging to the same sect, an hypocritical request for acceptance into the inner circle. All these words have actually become the Trojan horse to do the opposite. When people talk of critical something, they actually mean they will teach you dogmas. When they say inclusive, they actually mean they want to exclude someone. When they say decolonization, they actually want to colonize every spot they can with their ideology, and so on. Modern universities teach a history in which abstraction, functionalism, minimalism, deconstruction, brutalism, high-tech were all inevitable outcomes from the stuffy past. That story is completely false. Classical practitioners continue working throughout the 20th century, teaching apprentices, producing commissions, and preserving traditions. Their work was actually collected by the real rich, while the masses got the fake artists. This hidden truth contradicts the mainstream ideological timeline and was systematically erased from visibility and history books. One of modernism's heroes, Picasso, famously remarked that
after Altamira, all is decadence.
Encapsulating this cultural shift, proficiency, ability, and technical skills were increasingly seen as a baggage. Innovation redefined as novelty and curiosity rather than competence. Modern museums have become a circus of freak shows. The result? Generations who could make up narratives, but they could not draw, paint, or carve. And the global market welcomed this. Now everyone can buy art made by famous people. Mediocrity passes unchallenged because it's useful this way. It's easily producible and sellable. Everyone can be an artist. You just need to be part of the good circles. You don't need talent. Why all that effort? Today, critics and gallerists make the artists, not the other way around. This is a stark difference from the past, where powerful people competed harshly to get the best artists. One example is Pope Julius II, one of the most powerful figures of his time. He was about to wage war on the Republic of Florence to get Michelangelo back, after he perceived offense for not getting an audience or not having his marbles paid, in order to secure his craft for his monumental tomb. Modernist architecture demonstrates our societal failure with brutal clarity. When a building is criticized as ugly, the response is often,
"Oh, you don't understand it. You are missing a piece of information."
or that
Ugliness was intentional.
that
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
human discomfort is recast as sophistication, alienation as progress, incoherence as intelligence. Human scale, proportion, ornament, rhythm are all dismissed as nostalgic, reactionary or passé. Desire for beauty itself is treated as naive. In order to retain the subjectivity of beauty, they are willing to sacrifice truth and reality. The fact that even if subjective, beauty exists. Something called objective beauty exists too. A form of beauty not based on individual experience, but on natural human perception. One that can actually be taught and that aligns with how our brains processes proportions, symmetry, patterns, visual hierarchy, natural material, and moderate complexity. This result is deliberate. Education magnifies past flaws to justify erasing its achievements. The shift moves from the artwork to the artist. And people can't simply perceive art. They need to be told what and how to look at it. The result is pure cognitive dissonance. People are taught to distrust their perceptions, to turn off their critical thinking, and to put their faith in the elites. And yet, nature always finds a way. Like that little plant that manages to crack through the deep asphalt we threw on top, good art and architecture still manage to stay alive, though kept as a secret from students. It doesn't win the mainstream awards, and popular magazines don't talk about it. Traditional architects, craftsmen, and builders continue to design, create, and build works rooted in proportion, ornament, and durability. Works that resonated with our ancestors and still resonate with our souls, because they draw from the timeless values that shaped our civilization. Recovering a functioning culture requires reclaiming the right to access reality. Not everything is relative. Some things are better than others. Moral purpose or utility is fine, but shouldn't trump aesthetic pleasure. Our lives are finite, and we shouldn't waste them on things that have no quality and aren't beautiful. As William Morris revealed in his Golden Rule, have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. And my grandma's wisdom, an educated housewife of the countryside, instinctively echoes his sentiment, advising me when I was younger to have only few things but have them of good quality, which I fear is the opposite of where our bulimic society has got. Education must be conceived not as the one you acquire at school, but the one you must acquire outside institutions. Yes, your studies do not finish with your graduation, they begin with it. A whole world of knowledge is available out there, and we all must use it to reconnect our work with the lessons of the past. We must show our gratitude to our ancestors and defend their lessons, so that others after us can benefit from them too. Institutions and the creative establishment deliberately push for cognitive submission. They want the public to accept excrements simply because they've labeled it chocolate. This dynamic mirrors what psychologist Stanley Milgram demonstrated in his obedience experiments. When authority defines what is correct, people tend to comply even when their instincts resist. In Milgram's term, they enter an agentic state, seeing themselves as instruments of someone else's will, and shifting responsibility upward. As a result, we are educated into a mindset where anyone who steps out of line risks being attacked by ordinary people, creating a passive enforcement throughout society. Humans, and all living beings in general, are born with instinctive attraction to certain colors, textures, forms, and proportions. Humans have been evolving for approximately 6 million years, and for as much repression as we have endured in the past 100 years, nature will ultimately always prevail. The educational system is desperately trying to rewire us, stripping us of our biology, replacing instincts with the correct thoughts and feelings. Taste has been trained out of us, skills have been banned, and judgment has been outsourced to those who benefit from mediocrity. Imagine if in sports we had done the same. How boring skillful people shooting the ball in the basket.
Much more creative to shoot the ball elsewhere.
Or the very hard training required to perform diving in a swimming pool.
Much more interesting a cannonball dive.
We can relearn how to recognize and demand real quality. Our minds, our communities, and our cities will all benefit. Beauty is not lost. It has been buried, and now more than ever, we have the capacity to uncover it. Let's stop being coprophagists. See you in the next episode.